Syntax. Shaping sentences for strength and flow. What is syntax in editing? It's how words and phrases are arranged. And surprisingly, that has a very large effect on how a piece turns out. Just switching sentences around. It's more than grammar. We're not just talking about verb agreement, subject verb agreement. We're talking more about rhythm, bounce, cadence. The slides that I talked about last class or a few classes ago on parallelism. That's all in syntax. So it's your job as editors to note the syntax and be able to identify if it struggles in some places or where maybe splitting a sentence would create a greater rhetorical effect. So like I said, it does influence clarity and readability, but even more sophistication and tone and even voice. There's a lot of rhetoric and syntax. Rhetoric is built into everything, but syntax and rhetoric are they're kind of like brothers and sisters. And it's style skeleton. Where you can have great style and a great message. You can be funny and witty, you can be serious and emotive. If your syntax is crap, it's only going to be mediocre. So a simple sentence. There's a subject and a predicate. And I know you guys are probably going back years into high school English, but so there are 5 kinds of sentences, subjects and predicates. The first one, we had subject and a verb. Birds sing. That's the shortest complete sentence. Even if it's just a verb, there's always an understood subject. Then we have subject, verb, direct object. She reads books. Books is the direct object. Then we have subject, verb, indirect object, indirect object. So the core sentence is he gave, and then we add the direct object, he gave advice. So you can say he gave advice to me. That would also be an indirect object. Or he gave me advice. Stop me if you guys are not, if you need me to clarify anything. Then we have subject, verb, complement. They are happy. So happy is kind of in a positive of they. It's you're making a univocal comparison. So it's the word after the verb isn't the direct object, it's renaming the subject. I am awesome, as we all know. So awesome is the complement of me. Sandy is crazy. You get the idea. Then we have subject, verb, direct object, and object complement. So the complement isn't complementing the subject, it's complementing the direct object. And any sentence will be one of these 5 things. Very complex in some cases, but yes. In this sentence, many feminist communities use trigger warnings, particularly in online forums, when discussing rape, sexual abuse, and violence. Somebody tell me the subject.
Feminist communities.
Many feminist communities, yes. And everything after that is the predicate. So the verb is obviously use. Their direct object.
Trigger warnings.
Trigger warnings, right. And then the rest of that after the comma. This really isn't a simple sentence. Pretend that there's a period after warnings. That would be the simple sentence. Okay. Somebody have a question? All right. So down the dark alley crept the thief. What is the subject?
The thief.
The thief. Sharina for the win. So it's inverted. It's an inverted sentence, but it's still a simple sentence. The subject is just at the end. And it's a simple sentence with, is there a direct object?
No.
There is not, right? Because down is a preposition and subject is
Mary.
Mary. And is this a simple sentence or a complex sentence?
Complex.
It's not. It's a simple sentence. The simple sentence with the double predicate, which is fine because the simple sentence means there are no subordinate clauses. That's why, particularly in online forums, that's not really a simple sentence. And down the dark alley might not be, yeah, it's an indirect object. Yep, it's still a simple sentence. And what's the point? Because, as we'll see in the next couple slides, if you have a long lyrical sentence followed by a blunt, simple sentence, that punch is greater. Now, I'm not going to be Bible thumping here, but if you do a literary analysis of some of the books of the Bible, the writing is pretty profound. So when Jesus found out that Lazarus was dead, Martha was through the big long talk about Jesus didn't get there in time, and it's telling some narrative nonfiction there. But then at the end of when they said, "Oh, when you're too late, he's dead," we got the shortest verse in the Bible. Anybody know what it is? Come on, trivia buffs. This is an old trivia question.
It's Jesus wept.
Jesus wept. That's right. That is so powerful at the end of, and Jesus, I think that's the only time he's wept, right? Or at least where it says it in the Gospels. So that syntax there, if you want to analyze some amazing literature just from literature, like the book of Job is probably one of the top 5 classically. I mean, it's like you could analyze that in a grad class for English. It's just amazing. Anyway, beyond simple sentences, we've got 3 types of complex sentences. We have a compound sentence with 2 subjects, and 2 things that the subject does, separated by a comma and an and. We have a complex sentence that is nuanced. We have 1 independent and 1 dependent clause. So you've got some layering there. You could layer these dependent clauses to build a beautifully complex sentence. Now, do we know what the difference is between an independent and dependent clause? I'm assuming that maybe I'm assuming too much. What's an independent clause? What does an independent clause have? It can stand on its own. Meaning it has what? A subject, and a verb. Yes. An independent clause cannot stand on its own. It might have a subject and a verb, but if it's got, like, say, you could say, while I was eating, is that an independent or a dependent clause?
Dependent.
Right. Why?
Because it's not you while you were eating what?
Right. So that's not a complete sentence because it starts with while. And so does anybody know what part of speech while is?
It's a prepositional phrase.
No, while
Not
is an
prepositional.
adverb.
It's an adverb.
While is an adverb. While, when, how, all those. While is an adverb, so it's an adverbial clause. Without it, I was eating. Is that an independent or dependent clause?
That's independent.
It is, right? Because you don't have the adverb in the front there. So grammar gets pretty tricky, but knowing these things in the back of your head while you're analyzing some more nuanced writing, you can spot if it's where it stumbles. A lot of times things will stumble when you're reading them, and you're like, "What? That sounds so weird. Why does that sound weird?" Well, if you know a little bit more about grammar, you usually can find the answer yourself and then fix the problem. And then we have a compound complex sentence. So you've got a compound sentence, which has two what's? A compound sentence has two
Clauses.
what?
Independent clauses.
Right, meaning it's got two subjects and two verbs. But there's also a dependent clause. The archives were locked to the public. Is that independent or dependent?
Independent.
Independent.
Yep. And journalists were turned away, independent or dependent?
Independent.
Independent, even though the documents concern decisions made in everyone's name. So the even though makes it dependent. And now it's a clause, adverbial clause. On this slide, we're distinguishing between phrases and clauses. Phrases are groups of words that don't have both a subject and a predicate. For example, a noun phrase could be, the tall man with Isolde. A verb phrase might be, had been waiting. We can also have prepositional phrases, like in the garden, appositives, such as my friend the poet, and verbals, gerunds, infinitives, or participles. All of these function as meaningful word groups, but none of them form a complete sentence on their own. Clauses, on the other hand, do have both a subject and a verb. An independent clause can stand alone as a sentence, while a dependent clause needs support. Dependent clauses can take different forms. Subordinate clauses add cause, condition, or contrast, and relative clauses add descriptive detail, often introduced by words like that, which, or who. On the right, you'll see some examples pulled from published writing. These show how phrases and clauses appear in real sentences, not just in abstract textbook examples. They illustrate how writers layer phrases and clauses together to create nuance and rhythm. So the main takeaway here is phrases give us building blocks, clauses give us structure, and when we combine them thoughtfully, we get complex, sophisticated sentences. Sentences style. So short sentences, they've got more of a punch. They're clearer, they're less obfuscated. They can create tension and humor, especially if it's juxtaposed against something longer or lyrical. That intentional shift there creates tension. Longer sentences, they're lyrical, they flow, they give depth, explanation, complexity. There are some writers who love to write that way, and there are others who love to write the opposite way. So, can you think of a famous writer who loves these long, lyrical, deep writing? Probably the most
Dickens?
annoying. Did you say Dickens?
I did.
Oh my God. He just goes, but it's
He had
right
word diarrhea.
beautifully, right? But he's got prose exploding on every page. And then you have somebody like Cormac McCarthy, who, has anybody read The Road? It was a movie, but it was a book first. I think it won the Pulitzer. Anyway, Cormac McCarthy, it's a post-apocalyptic kind of a dystopian future book, but he writes direct to the point. Think of Capote in Cold Blood, you know. That writing just gets to the heart of it. Syntax mirrors thought patterns. If it's somebody who Dave Barry or Bill Bryson, somebody who writes stream of consciousness thought, syntax is really important when you're writing stream, like Ulysses. Anybody read Ulysses? I'm so sorry if you did. That whole book is stream of consciousness, and that's widely considered to be the best book ever written. Just on scale and talent alone. So it's your job as editors to weigh the two. If you have something so rhetorically and lyrically heavy, you bury the message. Does anybody know what that's called when your writing gets in? You get in your own way with your writing when you're trying to be as eloquent and rhetorically stylized as possible.
That's your purple prose?
Purple prose, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, sentence length and variation. Can somebody read this for me?
In fairness, it must be said that the new ballparks of the 1990s, as opposed to the multipurpose arenas built in the previous 30 years, do strive to keep the character and intimacy of old ballparks, sometimes even improve on them, but they have one inescapable, irredeemable flaw. They are new. They have no history, no connection with a glorious and continuous past. No matter how scrupulous a new Fenway they build, it won't be the place where Ted Williams batted. It won't make your feet stick. It won't echo in the same way. It won't smell funny. It won't be Fenway.
All right, so before we even get into the analysis, I want to know, what do you guys, after talking about this sentence structure in these previous slides, what do you notice, and what was the most striking thing about the syntax in this passage? There's a few cool things.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Very what?
The very long first sentence, and then the very short second.
Right.
Yeah.
Shrina, you've never read this. I'm assuming you never read this passage before, but when you got to the end of that first sentence, and you said they are new, I don't think you even noticed it. You made that more dramatic as it was supposed to be, and I think that was just an internalized instinct to do that juxtaposition of the they are new right after this long, very well written first, 5 lines? What's that? Maybe 25, 30 words?
Mm.
So what is the effect of that?
It pleases the mind.
Well, it makes the they are new. That is the central focus of this whole paragraph. That's, if you want to get to the meat of what he's saying,
Mhm.
they are new is it. right? And the fact that he makes that so short emphasizes that. So that's a pretty long sentence. And its effect, its purpose, it's the setup, right? It's the clause heavy. How many clauses are in this? Clauses and phrases. We've got in fairness. We have that the new ballparks of the 90s to the multipurpose in the previous 30 years. I mean, I haven't even gotten halfway through. How many clauses is that, right? And then we've got this 1 3-word sentence.
Very powerful.
Very powerful. And then at the end here, we've got this parallel structure. It won't. It won't. It won't. It won't. Does anybody remember in the parallel in the grammar class when I talked about different types of parallelism? It's so esoteric and you'd probably never use the word again, but this is called anaphora. It's the repetition of a phrase at the beginning of a parallel passage. Winston Churchill. We will fight on the beaches. We will fight whatever he says. We will fight. There's 3 more. We will fights. But that's, extremely powerful. So this type of repeated parallelism, especially at the end, you'll see a lot of it in oratory, which I love. Cardinal sins. Yeah, purple prose. The mahogany-haired adolescent girl glanced fleetingly at her rugged paramour, a crystalline sparkle in her eyes as she gazed enraptured upon his countenance. Oh my God, I ran out of breath, man. There's so much going on in that. I think you all get the idea why that's just too much. Do we have a dangling participle? You know I am the queen of spotting dangling modifiers. What's wrong with this sentence?
It looks like the flowers are walking down the street.
Well, that's right.
Yeah.
So when you have an introductory clause, that always modifies the subject. And the subject in this sentence is the flowers, which would be cool, but probably unlikely. We have lumpy lines. This is, like I was just talking parallel structure. If you want to do a parallel structure thing, but parallelism is a rhetorical powerhouse. You can do so much with parallelism, but if it's bad parallelism, you can obviously tell. So what's wrong with the parallelism in this sentence?
Likes, running, and reads. They're not the same.
Well, to swim, running, and reads, right? You would want.
Yes, sorry, I said that wrong. Yes.
She likes. So how, Sharina, how would you easily, even if it's not perfect, how would you easily fix the parallelism in the sentence?
Swimming, running, reading.
She likes swimming, running, reading. Or to swim, to run,
To run or to read. Mhm.
Yep. Then we have a misused clause. This is another pet peeve of mine that nobody remembers at all. So there are 2 problems in the sentence. What are they?
That is the first one.
Why is that wrong? What should it be?
Who, because it refers to the girl.
Yep.
The girl who stole my lives in the house that burned down.
Why?
Because
You could leave it out and it wouldn't matter.
There's a word that we used in the last class. Restrictive versus non-restrictive. So, which burned down, the way it's written here, would make it non-restrictive, meaning it's extra information that you don't need. But in this sense, it is information that you need. So What? Somebody say something? It should be.
I think that's background noise. Yeah.
Oh, okay. It should be that burned down because without it, the sentence doesn't really make sense. The girl who stole my almond joy lives in the house. Well,
Which house?
you need to know that. So
Yeah.
you would use that without a comma for a restrictive clause. And then, like I was saying before, if you have too many prepositional strings, it becomes it feels like a run-on after a while. The book on the table in the corner of the room with the peeling wallpaper near the old radiator under the window was fine. I mean, that just doesn't work, really. In action, somebody read this for me, and we'll talk about it.
My grandpa, you need to realize, was a big kid himself. He didn't let too many people know this. To the outside world, he was a formidable man, brilliant, conservative, meticulously groomed, deeply Christian, lover of words and books and fine things. But I knew better. My grandpa loved reading out loud, but he loved laughing. My grandpa loved reading out loud. He loved laughing. He loved popcorn and whistling and making stuff. He loved Boggle, Paul, Harvey, The Sound of Music, and The Sound of Music. He wore Cornhusker red and Nebraska State red on Nebraska State games. He gave me Jen.
He called me Jen.
He called me Jen and read me poetry. And he loved, with all the fervor of a child at Christmas, trains.
Okay, so there are some problems in this paragraph. Then I was going to fix them because it was embarrassing, but then I'm like, you know what? This is a really good example of where line editing and copy editing. If you're line editing, you're also copy editing at the same time. So first, let's talk about the style, the syntax style. What can somebody say about, like, what struck you about the syntax? There are certain elements of the syntax.
Is it more conversational?
Well, it is, but I'm talking about sentence length and juxtaposition and just structure for now.
Okay.
Well, the key is the short sentence, but I knew better.
But I knew better. Well, that's the pivot,
Yeah.
right? That's the hinge. You could probably diagram this passage very easily. You could find the crescendo. You can see the flow and the if you were to kind of draw it, I picture like it as waves. It ebbs and flows. It gets staccato and then it backs off. So somebody identify one simple sentence in the thing.
He wore Cornhusker red on Nebraska State game dates.
Yes, yep. Absolutely right. But I knew better, I was thinking of, but yeah. Identify one complex sentence.
My grandpa, you need to realize, was a big kid himself.
Yep, absolutely, yep. How about a compound sentence?
The outside world, he is a formidable man, brilliant, conservative, meticulously groomed, deep Christian, lover of words and books and fine things.
Actually, compound sentence has two independent clauses.
So then it would be my grandpa loved reading out loud. He loved laughing. He loved popcorn, etc.
Okay, that would be, and you're right. But there's a copy editing error in that whole sentence.
Should there be an and after loud?
There should, or you should have semicolons. Why? Because if you just have commas, anybody remember the phrase?
Comma splice.
Comma splice, yes.
Mhm.
Alexa, turn on bed. It's getting dark in here. Commas Place, yeah. So let's see. What else did I want to ask you? Um, ah, tell me all the parallelism that you can
Believe it or
find.
not, my Alexa, which is in another room, just responded.
Oh my god. Oh boy.
I'm like, who's talking in the other room? I hear a female voice. And
Okay.
What was the question?
Find all examples of parallelism.
My grandpa loved reading, he loved laughing, he loved popcorn.
Yep. Yep. Popcorn and whistling and making stuff.
I'm sorry.
Actually,
What is I'm forgetting what parallelism is.
so parallel structure is like in a list. You want the structure of each element of that list to match. I enjoy running, reading, and sleeping. If you were to say, I love running, to read, and to sleep, that's awkward because the parallelism doesn't match. Does that track, Sandy?
So it's not a use case. It's not like a style. It's grammar. It's proper way.
Actually, if you have mismatched parallel structure, it might be grammatically correct, but syntactically it's awkward because you've got items in a list and they're not logically tracking the same way if you've got them in different forms. Let's look at this example. Look at he loved Boggle, Parhari, The Sound of Music, and The Sound of Music. If I said he loved playing Boggle, Paul Harvey, listening to The Sound of Music, and The Sound of Music, that's all grammatically right, but rhetorically and syntactically, it's a mess. It doesn't have the same musical cadence. Lover of words and books and fine things. That's more parallelism. You've got and twice, and the first two words are single words, single nouns, words and books. In fine things, that's still parallelism, but it's parallelism that's building for rhetorical effect. It's something that once you point it out, you can see why a sentence is awkward, but it takes some skill or just doing it a lot of reading something and pulling out those parallel elements. Parallelism is usually used in a list sense or a comparative sense. Does that help, Sandy?
Yeah. Yeah. I guess what I'm trying to characterize it is it like proper parallelism, effective parallelism. What is it? Improper parallelism? Is that why?
So, are you asking why you want to be parallel?
No, I'm asking the quality of parallelism is
It's a rhetorical device.
okay. Gotcha. That's clear. That's
Okay.
clear. Yep.
So, how does the repetition of he loved affect rhythm and tone?
I'm sorry, say the question.
So, the repetition of loved.
Well, the problem is, he has reading, laughing, and then he has popcorn, and it doesn't work.
It does stumble there. That's
Yeah,
a parallel
He loses the
Right.
parallel opportunity.
Yep. So what's a way to fix that easily?
Why? You say he loved eating popcorn, I
Eating
suppose.
popcorn, yeah, eating popcorn. That would fix it right there. Because it's a good sentence. It could be made better, and it should be by that, what Len just said. But there is also a buildup. If you'll notice, I did it a couple times. The lover of, okay, so formidable man, brilliant, conservative, meticulously groomed, deeply Christian. And then we have lover of words and books and fine things. That is a crescendoed cadence there. Think of it musically. It almost is speeding up. I did it again. Where is it? So it starts out slow. My grandpa loved reading out loud. Then it gets faster. He loved laughing. He loved eating popcorn and whistling and making stuff. So I don't have that he loved for the last two things, because it's almost like I'm tacitly putting in etc. But I'm saying it out loud. It's I wish I had better words to explain rhythm and cadence to you guys, but we're going to learn about it in another module. There was something else. Oh. So there are things that are wrong, copy editing wise in this, besides the commas place. And it's something we haven't talked about yet.
I wanted to go back to the insertion of the word eating in terms of the rhythm, although I am hearing that that made it conform, but then it doesn't rhythmically. When we were reading it, my grandpa loved reading out loud. He loved laughing. He loved popcorn and whistling and making stuff. He
Right,
loved.
and that's
Eating is what I'm saying.
so I catch on that too, Cindy. That's why I left it, because that's why I left it for us to talk about.
I would not add eating. I might add it as a comment now that I've taken the training. But
right, but the problem is all the other things that my grandpa loved, they're all participles. He loved reading, he loved laughing, he loved whistling, he loved making. But then you have he loved popcorn, which is it breaks it up a little bit. So, but you're right. I would say eating popcorn, that's also a stumble, because then it gets mouthy, it gets wordy. But
it does. And you can love popcorn without eating popcorn.
well,
Can I make a suggestion?
yes,
Proposal?
absolutely. Yep.
Musical and poetic.
What if he said he loved reading out loud, laughing, eating popcorn, whistling, and making stuff? In other words, you only say he loved once.
Right. Well, you could do that. That would be a very smooth way to smooth it out. But you lose the rhythm, because
You do.
the loved reading, loved laughing, and then it
Yeah.
whistling and popcorn and making stuff.
This is a personal statement. My grandpa, you need to realize that's what it's one person sharing with somebody else, a story about grandpa.
Right.
It is very conversational. So I wouldn't correct that, because I'm looking at the context of this piece.
So that this is an example of where you as an editor need to make an executive decision. Do you fix the parallelism, or do you leave the rhythm the way it is? Because it's almost like the author is talking to you.
Yes.
But there's no correct answer.
So,
It
oh, where's the?
Go, Trina.
I was trying to find the raise hand button. Would there could there be like a happy medium where you just replace all the commas with a period?
Well, yeah, you'd have to do it anyway because it's a commas place. But even if you do it, you still have things that are in a list form that
Semicolon.
so I would semicolon them.
Well, no, you would use ellipsis because you like them so much.
I would not because
I'm
I'm
kidding.
I'm not trailing off.
Yeah,
Silly.
go on.
Comment,
So, yeah,
looking at, reflecting on it. This second phrase, you need to realize, makes it very conversational. In my opinion.
yeah,
He's talking to us one-on-one. And so that, to be consistent, and I think it's better to make it very conversational.
I agree. I agree with you.
Not correct.
But I don't think it would be wrong to correct it. I think there's a way to rephrase the whole sentence to like satisfy both worlds. But it works the way it is. So yes, I will leave it, but you could fix it. So let's go on to the next sentence. He loved Boggle, Paul Harvey, The Sound of Music, and The Sound of Music. Why does that, what's going on there in that second half of the sentence?
Isn't The Sound of Music
Yeah, so there's some wordplay going on there.
yeah, like
So,
yeah.
The Sound of
Cleverness.
Music. Pardon me?
Cleverness.
Governess?
clever.
Oh, governess, yes.
Next station, Antonio.
All right, so he wore Cornhusker red on Nebraska State game days. As when you're wearing your copy editor hat, is what's going on in the background there? Sorry, there's somebody's got something going on back there that I can't. Is it gone?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm on the train, so when I unmute.
Oh,
Probably
no,
gonna
no.
be enough.
Sorry. I think there was a lag too because I heard it even after I think it stopped. He wore Cornhusker red on Nebraska State game days. As a copy editor, it's your job to also fact check. So there's something wrong in that sentence that I didn't know until my dad was like, "Pete, there's no Nebraska State, it's the University of Nebraska." But that's an important distinction to get right, especially if I'm telling you the story about all these things that I know about my grandpa. When I say the name of his college wrong, that's kind of mildly embarrassing. But it's also indicative of when you're copy editing, you're also trying to keep your finger on the pulse point of the facts. Are they accurate? Are they accurate? Is there any stumbles there? So if he called me Jen Jen and read me poetry, I would put a hyphen between Jen Jen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where is the voice the most formal? And where is it the most casual?
I think it's the most casual in the beginning. Formal?
To the outside world. This feels a little more formal.
It does feel very formal, and that's a shift. My grandpa, you need to realize. But then the very next sentence, it's very formal. And the point of that, which I don't know if it was a stumble, but I was trying to paint a picture of my grandpa, how the outside world sees him, very formally, very straight, and didn't smile, and a little bit off, unapproachable. So that's the point of that sentence being so structured. And then I said, but I knew better. So that drops the formality down again. But I don't know even today if I shouldn't have changed that second sentence to be a little bit more conversational. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, probably not, because then "but I knew better" wouldn't have the same.
Agreed.
Yeah, it wouldn't have the same
Thanks much. Yep.
rhetorical punch.
Yeah.
And then the second half becomes very intimate. It's you I'm letting you into the secret, and I'm telling you all these details that, if you think about, I was writing this thinking of myself as a 10-year-old, right? So those are the things I remember because I was 10 years old. I mean, maybe he was all those other first things, but I wasn't involved in any of those conversations. I didn't interact with him in those situations, so he seemed even more so to me, this straight, narrow, meticulously groomed. And then he goes downstairs in the basement and he turns on his trains and he's like a child. So I think that was the intention I was going for. But that one sentence is so formal compared to the rest of it that I kind of go back and forth. But this whole exercise was me trying to show you how even syntax, which is largely grammar based, right? There's clauses that abound. We've even got some grammatical problems with the comma splice, and you want to use the right relative pronoun. Those things are all hard and fast rules, right? But then you've got the other side of it where you can play with sentence length, with clauses, with formality, and so that's kind of an advanced line edit session in a nutshell, this paragraph here. So I hope I didn't muck that up too much.
Good example.